Welcome to our February the 25th regular board meeting. It's great to see so many in our audience. Thank you for your presence here tonight, and thank you for supporting Greenville County Schools and our students. We appreciate it very much. I would like to inform our audience that the board just left executive session to discuss personnel matters, homeschooling applications, and to receive legal advice pertaining to the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. No decisions were made and no votes were taken. Our first item on the agenda is 1.01, welcome, pledge, prayer. Please stand for our prayer and remain standing for our Pledge of the Allegiance. Ms. Middleton, our board secretary, will lead us in our prayer. Ms. Middleton?
Thank you. Dear God, as we come together for our monthly school board meeting, we seek your wisdom in our discussions and decisions today. We ask for clear minds to focus on our primary goal, to educate and inspire all our children, and to do this in concert with our wonderful community. We are most grateful for all the blessings you have bestowed on us. We look forward to the chance to spend time with family and friends during our upcoming spring break in March. May we come back renewed and rejuvenated to meet all opportunities and challenges that come our way during the school year. Amen.
Thank you so much, Ms. Middleton. And Mr. Sailors, would you like to introduce our special guest tonight who will be leading us in the pledge?
With pleasure, Madam Chairman. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening, I'd like for all of us to welcome Aubrey Cave. Aubrey is a third grader at Taylor's Elementary School. According to her principal, she is an extraordinary individual. She is creative, intelligent, hardworking, caring, and full of energy. I think you and your brother could match for that, could you not? Yes, ma'am. Academically, Aubrey is self-motivated and an excellent in her academics. She's also a member of the Taylor's Elementary Green Team. Her principal also says in every way, Aubrey is a well-rounded, remarkable young person who is bound to achieve anything she sets her mind to. She makes her family, friends, and teachers incredibly proud. So thank you, sweetheart. This evening she's joined with us tonight with her parents, Charlton and Travis Cave. Sorry for that. Glad to have you with us. And the little brother, Mason. Mason, hello, how are you, sir? Anyway, we're so proud to have you with us this evening. Her teacher, Lori Wright, is with us, as well as her principal. Where's Heather Dye? Oh, right here in front of me. No one. Okay. Anyway, the floor is yours, sweetheart.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you may be seated. And thank you, Aubrey, for leading us in the pledge tonight. And thank you for being a difference maker at Taylor's Elementary School. Our next matter of business is item 1.02, the Miracle Worker Award. And presenting this award tonight is a true honor. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Sailors if he will join me at the podium to present this award. Tonight, it's our honor to present the Miracle Worker Award to a heroic Greenville County Schools employee. The Miracle Award was first approved by the board in 1996 to recognize individuals who go beyond the call of duty. The actions of a teacher during a recent incident serves as an example of how we all hope we would react during a crisis. I'd like to recognize Taylor's Elementary School special education teacher, Francesca Hazard, who is with us tonight. Francesca, would you come forward? She is also with her tonight is her principal, Mrs. Heather Dye, who is also a past Miracle Worker recipient. Also accompanying her are her husband, Frank. Frank, if you will stand, raise your hand. Thank you. Good to see you. Her children, Eliza and Archer. Her mother and her stepfather, Donna Styron and Henry Kroom. Would you raise your hand? Thank you for being here tonight. And her classroom aide, Linda Wolf. Where's Linda? Thank you for being here. During lunchtime on January the 27th, one of Ms. Hazard's students began choking on a grape. Mrs. Hazard took swift action, delivering abdominal thrust to dislodge the obstacle. We are grateful that Mrs. Hazard followed her training and took immediate action that saved the life of a child. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I present to Francesca Hazard the Miracle Worker Award for her heroic action in saving the life of a child. Presented by the Greenville County Schools Board of Trustees on this date, February the 25th, 2025. We are fortunate to have such an outstanding teacher on the Greenville County School Board team. The Greenville County Schools team. Francesca, you are a credit to the district and to your profession. Please join me, everyone, in congratulating Mrs. Hazard. Thank you so much, Mrs. Hazard, and congratulations. Our next matter of business is 2.01 to approve the consent calendar. The consent calendar includes items 2.01 through 2.05. We have a recommended motion from the administration. Do I have a maker of the motion?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Mrs. Linda Levinas Wells has made a motion. Mrs. Mosley has made a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The motion carries. Our third item of business is 3.01, appearance of visitors. Welcome to those who have signed up to speak this evening before the Board of Trustees, and thank you for your interest in Greenville County Schools. We have 3 speakers tonight. At this time, I would like to ask Ms. Mosley, our Vice Chair, to read the guidelines that we ask our guest speakers to abide by.
Thank you so much. As each speaker's name is called, he or she should proceed to the podium at the end of the board's dais where there is a microphone and light system. Each speaker has up to 3 minutes to speak to the board. The light system will be green for the first 2 minutes and will turn yellow when 1 minute remains on the speaker's allotted time. In keeping with board policy KCA, abusive language or personal attacks aimed at students or staff members will not be permitted. All speakers are expected to behave in an orderly and respectful manner. The board will not engage in discussion with the speaker or respond to comments, and the superintendent will designate a member of the staff to respond to each speaker in an appropriate and timely manner.
Thank you, Mrs. Mosley. Our first speaker is Ann Kelsey Zibbert.
Hello, members of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Royster, and district leaders. My name is Ann Kelsey Ziebert. I'm here today as a member of the Summit Drive Elementary School Improvement Council. I am a parent of 2 students at Summit Drive Elementary. I represent other Summit Drive parents and caregivers and members of the Summit Drive School Improvement Council in attendance at this meeting tonight. Summit Drive Elementary is located near downtown Greenville. Summit Drive's unique focus is design thinking, an innovative approach to solving real-world problems with the user in mind. Our students represent the wonderful diversity of Greenville. We are here tonight to thank the members of the Board of Trustees for their service to students, families, educators, staff members, and the community as a whole. We appreciate all you do to support public schools in Greenville County. We appreciate your commitment to providing all students with access to high-quality education, regardless of their background. We would especially like to acknowledge Ms. Linda Leventis Wells for her service to Area 22, where Summit Drive Elementary is located. We believe great public schools are vital to a vibrant, welcoming, and thriving Greenville. Everyone in Greenville County benefits from great public schools, whether they send their children to the public schools in Greenville or not. We'd also like to acknowledge Principal Jennifer Woody and Assistant Principal Jan Barrett, who provide strong leadership at Summit Drive Elementary. We have many tremendous teachers and staff who support our students every day. We're proud to say that Summit Drive Elementary earned an excellent rating on its most recent school report card. We love our school, and we love the support of the Greenville County Schools Board of Trustees and the support that you provide for public education. In closing, we appreciate all that you do. Thank you for recognizing the vital role teachers play in shaping our children's future. We ask you to continue to do all that you can to recruit and retain the best educators possible for our students in public schools in Greenville County. Every student deserves excellent teachers and an excellent education. Thank you for your service and your support of public schools for the benefit of our entire community. Oh, and we do have our Summit Drive School Improvement Council Chairperson, Miss Alexis Moore, and also grandparent, Miss Chris Robinson, with us here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alicia Taylor.
Hi, my name is Alicia Taylor, and I support the establishment of a Parent Special Education Advisory Council. And this is a council of parents in Greenville County schools who want to see better outcomes and work with our schools, our leaders, our community and faculty and staff to establish better outcomes and safer outcomes, especially for students, faculty, and staff. We're looking forward to hearing more about the establishment of this parent council, including some updates about the strategic planning around special education that may be due around this Friday. So we're all looking forward to that. I do want to talk about the proposed asynchronous makeup instruction days for Helene and the effects of students in special education, 504s, those of lower socioeconomic status, and what that means for them. And I know that you all are doing this with policy, working with the state, but this is inherently difficult for students who receive modifications and also accommodations for these items. If they are not in school and doing e-learning, that's assuming they have access to the things they need to do the makeup work. And this is a lot for those who receive math, reading interventions, need help with behaviors. It can be very difficult when you give them 5 days to make up work, and it's just another added stress to stressed out children. It's very difficult. They go to school all day, then they go to hours of required therapies outside of school on top of that. Just as a result of being disabled. This is also difficult when you do add on, thank you very much.
You can finish. You got another minute.
I do, okay. This is very difficult, and as a suggestion, I would get ahead of these. Have the communications with parents before we are doing these asynchronous and assuming that they have the skills and tools to help children with disabilities, with interventions on 504s, and other issues with the asynchronous sessions. Being proactive and making sure that 5 days they get extra time for that. They're also receiving special education services. It's nearly impossible if you need more than those on an asynchronous day. But we're just suggesting keep this in mind. There's a lot of children out there who do have 504s and other accommodations that are needed that are very difficult in e-learning. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Christy Collier.
Hi, my name is Christy Collier. I am actually here as a parent of my own child. who has experienced some miscommunication, bad things. He is in a dual credit class at JL Mann, and first semester, there was no communication that he was actually failing the class. He could not get into the class for a period of time, so he had already started falling behind. I was notified Friday by the athletic director informing me that my child was not eligible to play soccer this year. Then I had a meeting with the counselor yesterday. I emailed the counselor, the teacher, the vice principal, and the principal. The teacher emailed me back saying that she notified the counselor several times, but in a dual credit class, a teacher cannot reach out to a parent because they are quote unquote considered college students. Though they are going to a Greenville County public school, it does not show up in backpack. I have no access to any of the information. The email said that she had reached out to the counselor. So I had an appointment to meet with the counselor. She told me that the teacher never reached out to her. I was never informed that my child was falling behind to try to get this group together to see what we could do to salvage his grade and get him, he had almost near perfect attendance. The principal was surprised when he saw that he had a 10 in the class, and no one was notified that this child had that low of a class and perfect attendance. Then I got a phone call from the principal yesterday afternoon after he looked at everything and said that he was not even made aware that teachers could not reach out to parents because of this program. So then he said he was changing his program and instructed his teachers to not follow Greenville Tech's guidelines, that the teachers can reach out. Lo and behold, I had a friend today who called me and said, "Hey, I got an email from Greenville Tech talking about my student in the class wanting money, not grades, unfortunately, not like me." So I am just basically here to say that is a very broken system when a parent cannot be notified. My child is very responsible for his grades. I understand that. But I send him to school thinking that I am going to have some kind of communication about what he is doing, because all of us have kids, and I bet you if any of you ask your child how they're doing, probably they're going to say, "I'm doing fine."
Thank you. Our fourth matter of business is 4.01, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Royster.
Thank you, Dr. Stiles. I don't have a formal report tonight. I would, however, like to recognize three individuals. First, I'd like to recognize the newly appointed principal of Greer High School, Andrew Baker. I saw Andrew earlier out in the hallway. Andrew has served with distinction as the assistant principal at Greer High, but prior to that, he has served in that same role at Travelers Rest, at Carolina, and Berea Middle School. We very much look forward to him leading Greer forward to even greater accomplishments, a school that's already on the move in a positive direction, but we are very confident that he will continue that upward mobility. And I think it's also worthy to note that he is an alumni of Greer High School. Andrew, I believe you have some a cheering section there with you tonight. Yeah. Welcome to you all. Congratulations, Andrew. We look forward to working with you in your new leadership role. I also want to recognize Dr. Susan Stevens. Dr. Stevens was appointed earlier this month to become the Associate Superintendent for Academics. Dr. Stevens has had a very distinguished career in Greenville County Schools, currently serving as an Assistant Superintendent, leading one of the elementary school groups. Prior to that, having worked in academics, having been an extremely successful principal at A.J. Wittenberg, and having served as principal of all the child development centers in Greenville County. And she started her career as a research scientist. Brings a little bit of a unique background to her education role, but she's done an outstanding job in her previous assignments, and we look forward to her leadership in this new role following Mr. McCoy's retirement. Congratulations, Dr. Stevens. And although we did formally recognize her at her official retirement, I also want to recognize Gail Fordner, who's sitting there taking the minutes, but it will be her last official taking of the minutes as she transitions into full retirement, though I know that she might not reappear doing some things at some point. But Gail, we very much appreciate your dedication, your service to the district, and the excellent work you've done through the years. So congratulations as you move to spend even more time engaged in travel and the other things that you enjoy doing. Thank you, Dr. Stiles.
Congratulations again, Mr. Baker and Ms. Stevens and Mrs. Fortner. Just on behalf of the board, I just want to wish you a happy retirement and let you know how much we appreciate you and how much we'll miss seeing you in that spot. We wish you the very, very best. Our first action item is 5.01, Innovative Course and Honors Approvals. We have a recommended motion from the Committee of the Whole to approve the local courses as presented. This motion does not require a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carries. Our second action item is 5.02, lease agreement with the Center for Community Services. We have a recommended motion from the Committee of the Whole to approve a lease agreement renewal with the Center for Community Services for the period March 22nd, 2025 through March 21st, 2040. This motion does not require a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carries. Our third action item is 5.03, Hurricane Helene Makeup Days and Forgiveness of Days for Students. Dr. Royster, would you like to speak to this item?
Sure, if I might. Closed and unable to provide instruction, including through e-learning for 8 days as a result of Hurricane Helene. All school districts of South Carolina must, pursuant to South Carolina law, make up at least 3 of those days. School districts may waive 3 days, the Board of Trustees may waive 3 days, and may obtain a waiver, as described in your board materials, from the State Board of Education for up to 3 more days. Now, we had excellent support from our legislative delegation. They were willing to put forward legislation to give all those days, but they cannot do that solely and alone. And other members of the General Assembly feel like it's important that every school district make up at least 3 days. However many you might have missed, make up at least 3. We certainly are very appreciative of the efforts of Representative Bannister, Representative Burns, Willis, Long, Haddon, Wendell Jones, Wickensheimer, also Hyatt and Bowers from Pickens County. On the Senate side, Senator Shane Martin, Spartanburg, a little bit of Greenville, Senator Thomas Alexander, the President of the Senate, and our local senators, Ross Turner, Jason Elliott, their efforts towards assisting us in this. And also their assurance to us that should we miss the additional days. We're sitting here now, we're not quite out of February yet. We've had inclement weather in February, and there have been times in our state, in our district, where we've had days missed in March. So what we have in front of us is the requirement that we hold makeup for 3 of the 8 days we missed for Helene. We have also missed an additional 2 days with inclement weather during the winter. So what we present to you all is a plan to use asynchronous learning, meaning teacher doesn't have to be live on the computer. Students don't have to be live in front of the teacher. That would not be the method we would normally use on a day we miss, where we can operate e-learning on the day we miss. It is synchronous. The teacher is there presenting information, assignments. The students are online with them. This is the least burdensome on teachers, students, and parents. I think it is, without exception, the flexibility for that is certainly due in no small part to the efforts of our legislators. That was not exactly the position the state started with. So we selected 3 days during the school year, and we selected them purposely. They actually provide days that provide the greatest window of time for students to complete the work assigned to them. One might consider the work on the order of maybe like homework. So the teachers will post that assignment, perhaps post a video of them doing something or post the assignment. In the first e-learning day, which is March the 14th, students would actually have about 15 days to do that work, because that's the Friday before spring break. And e-learning rules and regulations from the state provide that students have 5 days after they return to school. So on that date, they have 15 days. The second date we selected is April the 18th. There is a day off that day, that Friday, which would provide students 11 days to submit that work. The smallest window is the last one, which is towards the end of the year, which is May the 10th, but it provides an 8-day window. Likely a lot of what would be done in that last one would be review as you go into final exams, or reviewing materials and standardized preparation for standardized testing. Those are the least intrusive ways we've identified to be able to do this. What this sets the stage for is our recommendation to you all to, as a board, forgive the 3 days that are within your power to forgive, and to, by resolution, request that the State Board of Education waive up to 3 days, which is what the law allows them to do. Now, we've only missed a total of the 8 for Helene, the 2 that we did e-learning on. So we've been out 10 days. The way we presented this to you all, it would give 1 day that, should we have another missed day this year, it would cover that 1 day. We've been assured by our delegation that, should that not be sufficient, they will be able to enact legislation to address any beyond that. It'd be highly unlikely we would need to do that beyond that. We have submitted our makeup plan to the State Department, and we've received approval from them for it, including their recommendation that we go to the State Board to approve the request, if you all choose to approve it, for the State Board to forgive up to 3. The 2 we've already missed, and 1, should it be necessary to miss another one due to inclement conditions. So we believe that this is the manner in which we can best address this requirement, from which we can't get any additional relief. Generally speaking, makeup days are not well attended. They do not really serve the purpose, I think, for what a lot of people believe they will do. And what we also find, particularly those subject areas, within a subject area, the things that are most essential, our teachers will do those things they need to do to ensure they cover the material they need to cover, so that our students are not shortchanged. We present this to you as our plan to handle the makeup days, and our recommendation to you to take care of the other time that was missed. I'm glad to answer any questions any board member might have, Dr. Stiles.
Thank you, Dr. Royster, for your very thorough explanation, and also for the thoughtfulness of the plan moving forward. We have a recommended motion from administration. I need a maker of the motion.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Sailors?
I'd like to move to approve in accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws, Section 59-1-425, and as further detailed in the attached Exhibit A. 1, a waiver of 3 days, that we approve the waiver of 3 days missed per Dr. Royster's explanation. And 2, that we request the State Board of Education waive the makeup of 3 additional missed school days as recommended.
We have a motion from Mr. Sailors. We have a second from Mrs. Mosley. Any discussion? Ms. Leventis Wells?
I know this is not going to sound positive, but I do mean it in a positive way. I appreciate the district coming up with these makeup days in the schedule. I commend you. But once again, what I see are the students missing out on their education days of learning. We've missed so much school. It's kind of interesting. And when we do these makeup days, it's just going to be busy work. Do a YouTube whatever and do a report on it. I mean, I know our teachers are dedicated and they do a lot, but that face time and classroom time is extremely important. I have a hard time with these days of makeup, knowing that you might have, well, I hate to give a percentage. I'll give a high percentage, which I know is not true, but I'll say there would probably be about 35% that would get on and do this work. And that's speaking really high. Then you have the special ed students, as we heard tonight, that aren't going to have that time. Parents are going to be, they miss that time. It's a no-win. If we're waiving this time for teachers, I really cannot understand, since this money's in the budget, why we can't help teacher aides that are hourly, bus drivers hourly, custodians hourly. Why would, if we can't,
Ms. Leventis Wells, if you would stick your conversation to the motion on the floor, please.
Well, we're talking about waiving. Well, I would like to add, and maybe I need to make an amended motion and add hourly employees to be forgiven. Because just when the hourly employees were starting to make up all their time, they get hit with another storm and have another 8 hours to make up. And it's not like they're going to the beach. It's not like they can do whatever. I know you want me to.
Again, let's stick to the motion, please.
I'm going to make an amended motion to approve in accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws, Section 59-1-425, and further, oh, there you go. There's more like it. Detail in the attached Exhibit 1, the waiver of 3 missed school days, the request of the State Board of Education to waive the makeup of 3 additional days, and to also to waive and let's see, how do I want to say this? And to forgive the title, all those that are hourly employees, waive 3 days for their makeup and that they will be paid.
Ms. Leventis Wells, there is some confusion.
I just made this up.
There is some confusion about that motion. Dr. Royster, could you provide
Get these people paid where they don't have to make up, because
Dr. Royster is going to provide an explanation if you will allow him at this time.
I'd be glad.
Every employee in the district was paid for those days. If you're an hourly employee, you were required to either draw down comp time that you already had earned or to make up the time, most of whom have made that up. Over 2,000 of our hourly employees worked during that period of time. So every employee was paid, every employee, and they were paid on time when they expected to be paid. So the only expectation is that they work in exchange for that or take comp time they already had. If you're an hourly employee, you're paid your pay for every hour you work. And if you work overtime, you are paid for every hour you work overtime. Our teachers, like all of our other professional staff and our exempt employees, are paid based on a 37.5-hour week, but they get a salary. So it doesn't matter how many hours they work, they get the salary they're paid for the year. I doubt there's a teacher anywhere in this district that works 37.5 hours a week. They work far in excess of that. So if we do happen to miss a day that we don't have to make up, we have traditionally compensated them for that day and not required them to make up the time, because they go well beyond that on a weekly basis. That's the reason we do it the way we do it. These people have already been paid. Many of them have already completed making up all their time. And the other issue is the more than 2,000 of them that came in and worked during that period of time. And I would find it very difficult to explain to those employees how others got paid and did not have to work during that period that are also on the hourly pay schedule. That's the reason it's set up the way it is.
Thank you, Dr. Royster. I understand, and I understand the teachers that will be working on those 3 days that they will have to make up, as well as the students. I understand that, but they don't have to be having FaceTime with those students. They can give them assignments, and that's what will happen. The hourly employees, and I have been contacted that some of them still don't have their hours made up. And then the last bout with the day we miss, that's an additional. And some have opted up not to make them up because they have other obligations during the day that they have to meet, whether it's taking care of an elderly person, taking their children, going and picking them up, etc. And I'm just trying to look out for everyone in this district because I want them to know that I appreciate them and I value their time and I value them as employees.
There's not an employee in this district that the administration doesn't value.
I have further no question. I'm done.
Ms. Leventis Wells, based on that explanation, do you want to move forward with the amended motion?
No, I'll just vote no on the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Sailors, I believe you have a comment.
Just a clarification, Dr. Oyster. This was essentially the best option of a series of bad options, correct? Because
yes, sir.
The only other option would have been to lose vacation days or weekend school or any number of options to put the students back in the classroom without having, essentially without having to go through the process that we're doing here. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. If you do not act to waive the 3 days in your power to waive and to request the state to waive the additional 2 days that we've already missed, so that's 5. If we don't use the 3 asynchronous e-learning days, that's 8 days. So your options would be to extend every school day by at least enough time to go 1 hour beyond the minimum day, or to go 8 Saturdays, or to take the entirety of spring break, the Friday before, the 1 day in April, and the 2 half days at the end of the year. That would get you to the 8, all of which are extremely onerous. Our graduations are already set. The dates are already determined. Contracts are already set with Bon Secours to hold them. So extending the school year is not an extremely viable option. And as soon as you do that, you have a lot of families that have already made their plans for that first week after school's out. Just like I'm sure we have a tremendous number of families, including the families of our employees, that have already made their arrangements for what they intend to do over spring break. So this is an extremely unusual situation. If you look back 10 plus years, Greenville County Schools, we miss on an average of 3 to 3.5 days per year, most of which now are recaptured with e-learning during the day of the event. Before that, we used actual makeup days that were added into the school calendar apart from days of vacation, where they made up that time. Having a hurricane pass through Greenville County is not, as you all know, a normal occurrence. It's extremely rare. It's been extremely rare to have any kind of storm that required the district to be closed for that period of time. I think you might have to go back to the late 80s, early 90s, when there was a huge snowstorm that covered the entire upstate. So this is a very unusual circumstance or set of circumstances. It is not what we would ideally prefer. We don't want to be out that many days of school. Teachers don't want to be out that many days and have students not in their class that many days. But it is, to your point earlier in what you, at the outset of your comments, it is the best of a series of not great choices.
And I believe I'm correct in saying that when we originally decided to request relief from the state legislature, you had already developed, or the administration had already developed, a plan to make sure that the learning in the classroom that would have normally taken place over those days was not lost. It would be placed into the process, so at the end of the school year, every child had the opportunity they would have had without weather incident.
As best we're able to do that, it means you make some choices about some things in a classroom, if you're a classroom teacher, that you would like to have done that would have enriched that classroom. You don't have time to do that now, because you've got to focus on the things that must be done, not the things that are nice to do, but go well beyond what we must do.
But the expectation of learning the requirements would have
remains.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Sailors. Dr. Presley.
Madam Chair, and Mr. Sailors had a good bit of the of my question answered, but to the whole idea of asynchronous versus synchronous learning, and before I go into this, I want to commend the district on the job that they did over navigating this set of unfortunate choices. None of them were optimum. But when we look at the whole concept and the whole how of asynchronous learning, I want to give Superintendent Royster, or whoever he designates, an opportunity to explain how accountability happens with asynchronous learning. It's not, in my past experience, something that is just a suggestion or something that students or the teachers who assign these things can just dismiss. Some of the most powerful asynchronous learning opportunities are when teachers are able to present again things that perhaps were not captured or were not fully, the teachers always know, especially when they're doing the formative assessments of their students. So there's a rich set of opportunities there. There's also opportunities, especially with the knowledge that, and as a mother of a 10th grader in the district, I saw the steps that teachers took in the aftermath of Helene, and the intentionality to make sure that those things were, that our students did not fall behind. But in an asynchronous setting, and I don't even want to ask this because we come really close to almost insulting our teachers' intelligence on this, because my question would be, what teacher is going to assign a junk assignment or something that's not meaningful in those asynchronous opportunities? So Superintendent Royster, I guess what I'm asking you is if you guys could just elaborate a little bit on the types of things that our teachers will expect of students in these asynchronous learning opportunities, because they could be extremely rich.
So you gave one good example. That would be an opportunity to reteach, review. I mentioned in my opening comments about particularly that last one, which you have in your household, a high school student that will have final exams. That's a prime opportunity to review for that exam by providing them some material to work with on their own. And then the day they come back, go over that in your actual class. The other thing, it's an opportunity for reading either selections or a particular novel or historical book, and you're going to discuss that when they come back to class. That's another good example of that, because the first piece of accountability is your own policy, which provides that for any assignment given by a teacher, feedback is expected. Now, feedback, as you all might imagine, doesn't necessarily mean an 85. It could mean discussion in class. It could mean them sharing what they got from the passages they read, what questions they might have, because feedback takes on, as you know from your background, can take on all kinds of forms, not just answering 3 questions in writing or some sort of multiple choice test or quiz. It can take a lot of different directions, from discussion to answering questions in the class, to having students share what they got from the assignment. There are all kinds of feedback that can be appropriate and meaningful.
Thank you so much for that explanation. I have full faith in our teachers across the district's ability to support rich and appropriate learning in these opportunities that we're going to request.
Thank you, Dr. Presley. Does anyone else have a comment? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
No.
The motion carries. Our next agenda item is 6.01, committee liaison reports. Would anyone like to share the work of their committee tonight? Okay. Ms. Morrison-Fair?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would just like to say that this weekend's, I guess it was Thursday through Sunday, several of us attended our annual advocacy conference in Myrtle Beach, and we had some great takeaways. It was always interesting to see what other people are doing across the state. And as usual, Greenville County always comes up, in my opinion, first. So I would like to thank the teachers and everybody that has a part in making our kids accountable. We had an opportunity to listen to a lecture that focused on decreasing middle and high school fights in Chesterfield County. I thought it was very interesting, but as I go across this district, we have a lot of things in place where students are being held accountable, especially with the social emotional learning. And that's what this, lecture was on, making students accountable and taking alternatives to disagreements. So I totally enjoyed that. Also, we had a speaker who encouraged every teacher, every employee to start the day with, tell me something good. So I will end this with, when you go to your classrooms or come to your job, instead of saying, good morning, how are things? Say, tell me something good. Thank you for the opportunity to attend this conference.
Thank you so much, Ms. Morrison-Fair. Anybody else who would like to share the work of their committee tonight? All right. Hearing none, our final agenda item is 7.01, the monthly finance report. The file attachments are presented as information. Does anyone have a question regarding any of the reports? No one? Mr. Cochran?
I had, I think, a couple of hopefully fairly quick questions. In the first graph, the general fund revenue column, the one that says from special revenue indirect costs, I see that last year's percent was 44% that had come in, and this year it's at 28. So I was just hoping that someone could explain to me exactly what's involved in that category coming from special revenue indirect costs, and just kind of what's going on to where there's a discrepancy between the 44% coming in last year and 28 so far this time.
I believe that entire discrepancy or difference, it's not really, is related to the ESSER indirect cost.
Thanks.
We got a large amount of ESSER funding. We're allowed to take indirect cost off of it. That no longer exists, so the indirect cost revenue dramatically decreases.
So with the ESSER funds no longer being part of that, what types of things do make up that? Of course, it's kind of a umbrella term here where it says from special revenue indirect costs. So what sort of things are still making that up?
Any kind of federal funding, and one of the largest ones would be food and nutrition services.
And Title I, IDEA, all of those title grants.
My second question, this is under the December 2024 financial stat graph expenditures for the last 3 years. Again, I was just wondering if somebody could tell me exactly what things are included in that category in the financial stat graph expenditures. And there's seems to be a bit of a discrepancy this time where our expenditures are up in that category above normal, and I was just kind of wondering what might be the cause of that.
Can you repeat which category?
It was the December 2024 financial stat graph expenditures. And like I say, this time it seems like in that category our expenditures are up compared to what they were the other 2 years that are listed there in those graphs.
Are you referring to the bar charts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And in which category are you speaking?
It was the financial stat graph expenditures for the last 3 years. And let me pull that up here real quick. It was actually the other, in that list of bar graphs, it's the other percent of budget expenditure. So I'm wondering what's in that category of other. Obviously, that's a bit of a catch-all. I was just wondering what types of things do we have included in that, in the other category?
Okay, it is all of your expenditures for supplies, services, equipment that's purchased out of the general fund. Of course, your salary and benefits is the largest category, so we pull those out. And then your utilities, we like to show those as a separate category as well. So it's everything else that is not in those two categories.
All right. And where in the past we've been at Last year looks like maybe about 53%, and this year we're at 60. Is there something out of the ordinary going on with that, or is that
Yes, sir.
nothing to be concerned about? Or
Yes, sir. We, in general fund for this year, we budgeted for instructional, and software programs that were paid for out of ESSER in prior years. So those particular programs you have to pay for at the beginning of the year. So I think there was a couple of instructional programs, software licenses for firewalls and our telephone system. So all of that would have been paid up front for the year. And as we go through the year, you should see the other years catch up to it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that explanation, Mrs. Stack. Does anybody else have a question? All right. Hearing none, this concludes our agenda tonight. Again, thank you so much for your presence. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Sailors has made a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Who was it down there?
Second.
Okay, Dr. Presley has made a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. We are adjourned at 6:56 p.m. Have a great night, everyone.